Embodying's podcast. I'm your host, Carlo, and I'm here with Brenden today.
Yep.
How are we?
Good yourself?
Good. I've had a week where I've been struggling to sleep and I've been working on getting to bed earlier and eating better food. And so I've just got a lot going on at the moment. So it's been a struggle, but you know what? We're here to do a podcast and we're here to knock it out of the park. So what are we talking about today?
Overcoming anxiety.
Alright, so anxiety has a whole bunch of different meanings for a whole bunch of different people. I'd like to hear what your take on anxiety is, please.
To me, it's just that feeling that you get when you're a bit uneasy, you're a bit anxious about the things around you, the circumstances, whatever they may be. To me, I could describe it as, say, for example, we'll talk about, say, gym anxiety. For instance, myself, when I first started going to the gym, I had a little bit of anxiety there as to more or less not feeling like I belonged there, like I was doing movements wrong, and I didn't want to make a fool of myself or anything like that. And I was anxious about that. Still to this day, a little bit, you get a little bit of anxiety, but you learn to overcome. You come up with mechanisms to deal with them, like more positive self-talk and more reassurance to say that you're sort of doing the right things because you've proven to yourself over time that you have.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's one time the anxiety could be not doing things. Like I get anxious if I've got a heap of stuff to do and you're there in a different place, in the back of your mind, you know, I've got all this got to do, and it takes you away from where you're at as well. You get a little bit anxious for it, you're not present, that sort of thing, and anxious in terms of like being late and stuff like that as well. Like you don't want to let people down and that sort of thing as well. There's that many realms of anxiety. At the end of the day, to me, like if you put action in place, that cures a lot of the anxiety. If you just keep putting the reps in, and what's your sort of opinion?
My take is very simple. I think anxiety, I don't really think, I go through it. And so the definition that I've been able to come up with is it's the overconsumption of anticipation. And so it's like you're in a state of mind and there are said circumstances to happen because of said action. And so because there are a number of circumstances that can occur, like what if this happens, or what if that happens, and if I don't do this, like this and this and this may happen. And so the accumulation of all these events that haven't even happened yet, it's only happened in your mind. And so with your mind, you're allowing yourself to consume anticipation and all different events that can lead into feeling anxious. And so by not being present, not being focused, or not taking any action, then anxiety ends up consuming you. And so it's like you're one body, but you have multiple different things going on in your mind. And so when you narrow it down and you're not over-consuming anticipation, but you're relying on enough anticipation from experience, because when things happen, you need to be able to anticipate next moves. You need to be able to anticipate actions that you're going to take when said circumstances happen. But you also have the decision and the power to take certain actions to prevent you from anticipating future said event. And so what works up with anxiety is that you aren't able to not only process future events in a way that is positive, you tend to have a look at the negative outlook or aspects of said future events, and at the same time you are currently unable to be present. And so by being present, you're better able to then not overcome anxiety, but manage it in a way where you use it as a tool. Because anxiety isn't inherently bad, because fear is a natural response of human beings. And so when we allow the overconsumption of anticipation and then we get to that what if thinking, it scares the shit out of us. And so instead of addressing what's really going on within and being present and going, hey, what am I trying to protect myself from? Or what is my body trying to protect itself from by constantly replaying certain outcomes or certain situations in my mind before they happen? What am I protecting myself from? Instead, people were saying, or even myself, I have anxiety. And it's like, well, do you? Like, because as I said, when you're over consuming anticipation, you're only then adding to not just the anxiety, but the fear that you're feeling. And so instead of just compounding it, we can just reduce it by becoming present. And so I know that was a huge tangent, but to put it simply, it's just the overconsumption of anticipation. When you're anticipating too much, you aren't able to make decisions. You aren't able to think clearly. You aren't able to share the burden or share the load of what's going on because you feel like that you have to do it, that you've been told that you need to be strong or that you need to do things and work it out all by yourself. Like that, it puts a strain on people. And I know that because I've lived through it and there are times where I still go through it. And so when I'm constantly anticipating, then it brings me down. When I'm constantly calculating, that's a different story, because the difference between anticipation and calculation is that anticipation is trying to figure out things before they happen. Calculation is going, hey, if I do this and I add this as well in this particular action, it can lead to this outcome. Where anticipation is, oh my God, I need to figure this out. What if this happens? What if that happens? And this and this and this and this. Anxiety, it's a lower vibration activity, where calculating is a more high vibration activity. And when you're better able to discern between when you're feeling anxious or when you're calculating, you'll be able to take the steps that you need to take in order to get what it is that you're doing done. And so by not overanalyzing and just by calculating instead, and then taking that action, like you said, that you need to take in order for that anxiety to be reduced. But yeah, it's the overconsumption of anticipation of the mind. That's anxiety in a nutshell.
Yeah, and I find like it can increase, like anxiety can increase. Say for example, going to a gym session and all day say if it's a Sunday for example, and all day you're on your phone and scrolling through Instagram for example, and you've got a lot of cheap dopamine there, right? You get from that, you can get sort of like that dopamine hit acts as like a baseline, right? Then before your session, you have a bit of pre-workout, a lot of caffeine there, and then you listen to play heavy metal music
or hardstyle,
whatever it is. Your anxiety levels are probably going to go through the roof.
That was my life at World Gym, man. As coaching there, and that was really the way that I went about my workouts. Like I'd just be doom scrolling social media for like 20 minutes before my workout. Then I'd just grab a can from the fridge, buy it, drink it, go and train. Yeah. And while I was training, I'd listen to hardstyle, and then I'd wonder why I couldn't sleep at night. Delusional.
The caffeine can cause anxiety. Your dopamine levels skyrocketing. It's all of us before having anxiety. Then if that's like one of the things that you haven't done in the past, like going to the gym, like you can imagine anxiety's there, dopamine's high, all this sort of thing. It's not a really good sort of mix.
No, and I think as well, like, there was actually a great post by a page that I follow called Physiology First, and they were talking about the difference between a disorder, and I'm paraphrasing here, but a disorder and I think it was a remedy or recovery sort of thing. I can't remember exactly, but they used to call disorders something else, because a lot of what disorders are they're just biological coping strategies and coping mechanisms. And so we're very prone to just labeling a certain thing so that we can get medicated for it. And rather than addressing the actual cause and the biology behind that coping strategy.
Yeah.
So when you look at anxiety and you look at the pre-workout example that you just used, I know for a fact that I used hardstyle music as a way to soothe myself, because I either felt bored or I felt pensive or I felt afraid. And so by listening to it, I could just transport myself into a place where there was a time where I was listening to that and it felt good to me. And I wasn't thinking about how lonely I felt or the things that were going on in my life. I could just focus on that music. Taking pre-workout, that took me to another place as well. Even training, like, that's taken me in multiple directions. Now you put all three of those together and it's just this explosion of dopamine where I train really heavy, I listen to awesome music, my endorphins are pumping, I'm feeling this adrenaline rush. I got home, pre-workout wears off, the pump wears off, and suddenly I'm a mess. Like, mentally I'm going, oh my God, like, I just feel like that I'm absolutely worthless. And there's a cause for that. And for me, I've found that the cause was that I didn't really address myself internally and really share so much what was going on internally. I just went with it. And so as a consequence, doing all of these things now over the last 6 years, where I've just been like taking pre at ridiculous amounts, or I'd be training at ridiculous amounts, or just listening to really heavy inducing music, like, that's taken my body into such a state where I have a massive dopamine hangover, where if I just remove all devices, like, my body will just go into withdrawals from time to time. And so that's not because I have a disorder, that's because I'm not biologically wired to be able to handle that sort of thing all at once.
Yeah.
And so, and instead of addressing the cause of that, which is how I feel inside, I go, hey, you know what, let's just get off my phone for the next few days. This is great. I feel good. Then I go and do exactly the same thing that I've been doing the week before. It's like, let's say I take a week off and I go back to doing exactly what I was doing the week before. And then I go, I can't just keep cycling like this. Like, it's got to be coming from within. And so that comes back to my earlier point, is that by being present, you're better able to ameliorate anxiety. And that's the best remedy in any way. And the best way to be present is to focus on the breath, because the breath is a form of energy. You're not just breathing, it's not just air, it's flow. And so when you allow the airflow in and the airflow out, and your body becomes more present, you will reduce anxiety a millionfold. And you won't need pre-workout, you won't need caffeine, you won't need hardstyle music or exercise or anything that can be used as a way to cope with how you're feeling internally without actually addressing what's going on internally.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where I've discovered for myself that by being exactly who I am when I need to be has been the best remedy for anxiety. Because sometimes you feel anxious because you don't want people to find out that you have imposter syndrome, or you feel like a fraud when it comes to working out or lifting heavy, or when it comes to let's say it's for guys approaching women, they particularly don't want others to find out who they really are. Probably because they don't like who they really are themselves, and rather tell other people different things about themselves or what they want to hear, like they put on a mask. By being exactly who you are at all times, just being transparent, it just becomes much easier. Where if you're broke, for example, but you proclaim that either you have money or things are going well and things like that, when you know that they're not, that eats you up.
Yeah.
And then you get anxious because then when people do find out, they might go, oh, well, he's been lying to me. Or I thought we were friends, like we could just tell each other everything. And you're just like, what do you do? And then that judgment and that shame that someone feels is part of what they're afraid of. But what they're really afraid of is actually acknowledging that themselves and going, hey, maybe I'm the problem. And the solution to that is just taking full ownership of exactly who you are at all time. That also reduces anxiety by a millionfold.
Yeah.
And so, like we were saying at the beginning of the show, that there's a whole bunch of different points of view, like when it comes to what anxiety is and how to overcome it.
Yeah, I find, like you said, ownership is a big thing, and with that last point you said, like one little lie, you have to cover it with several bigger lies, and then that further develops the anxiety you've got within, because you're gonna think that you're gonna come unstuck on something, and then all the stuff that you've done, which hasn't been you really anyway, it's gonna come it's come undone, and it's gonna be all for nothing.
Yeah, and I believe that there are higher powers, and so the higher powers keep score, like the universe keeps score. So the more that you're lying to yourself, the more the transience of your life and your life experience, it divides in the sense that let's say you're on a particular trajectory, and then for whatever reason you make up a lie so that it de-escalates the situation that you're in, and then suddenly that trajectory that you're on now takes a turn, and now you're on a different set path, and so you can see the path that you've just deviated from beside you, but you continue going straight because you don't want to expose the fact that you've lied about that particular thing that got you to take that turn. So now you're on this turn, and because you're still heading in that direction, now that lie is eating up inside you whilst you're watching your path go the other way. And so by being fully honest and going, hey, I'm not exactly where I want to be, then not only can you get the help that you need to get, or you can get the support that you think you need, and the tools that you might need for you to improve your current situation, you'll be able to actually regulate how you feel and regulate your emotions, because it's not your emotions that are governing how you think and how you feel, it's your reason. And with reason, when you add emotion to reason, then that's where the essence of life, in my opinion, is. And so anxiety is just this bundle of energy, this really jittery, I don't know how to deal with this sort of thing energy, very frantic. And so when you learn to regulate your emotions, tell the truth about yourself and don't lie, and be present, the anxiety just disappears, like almost instantly, because you've told the truth about yourself, you're focused on where you are and where you want to go, and you have every tool and every resource available to you that will help you set on the path that you think that you need to go on. And that might change, like that path might be different in a year's time, in 5 years' time, but at the same time, you know that you're not lying to yourself or to anybody else. You're as present as you can possibly be, taking action each and every single day, anxiety, you're not even anticipating bad things happening anymore because of the stories that you're now telling yourself that you're honest, you're on a good path, you're doing all the right things, and everything that you feed your mind and your body is nourishing you. Like, this is really the four necessary things that one needs to just overcome anxiety on a daily basis. It's not, hey, you do all these 4 things today and anxiety just disappears for the rest of your life.
No, it's daily action.
It's daily action.
Yeah.
Just like the 75 Hard program, just like any other program that you follow on any course or on any training program or any relationship program, whatever program that you follow will have those 4 elements in every single one. Being present, being transparent, doing the work, and not thinking too much in anticipation, but being as present as possible. That's really the simplest way that I can explain, that I understand is the best to overcome anxiety for anyone that struggles with that. And it's still a struggle for me. Like, there are things that concern me and that I'm afraid of talking about and not being upfront and transparent with. And as you know, that's something that I'm working on a daily basis, so that then I can improve my relationship with you, I can improve my relationship with the people behind the screen, so I can build something that is going to last me a lifetime. And that only works if I just do the things that I need to do, and that by getting that done will allow me to do those 4 things that I've just said.
Yeah, even like it comes through even through like your work, like going to work, even though if you've been going like to the same workplace for say 10 years and you know what you've got to do, it always, like, if you get a heap of work coming up, sometimes you can't help to feel anxious because you know there's so much work to do. But if you approach it at doing it one thing at a time and just ticking off each task as you go and just dialing in completely, focusing on that, not letting distractions get the better of you, you can easily like get all them things done and be back to a homeostasis sort of state, like you're not worried about all those things and you've sort of rid of that anxiety that was there. So that happens to me a lot, like almost every day at work, like through what I do, get a lot of emails, a lot of phone inquiries and stuff like that. You've got to come up with strategies that work for you as well, and that seems to work for me a lot. And I can imagine a lot of people can do that with their jobs as well as just their everyday life. It's prioritising things as well.
I would say as well, like I would add another thing as well, where developing a relationship with routine. And so I feel as though, myself included, routine is one of those things that I feel caged, where if I'm rigid with the routine, there isn't any flexibility. And so what I've learned is that it's not true at all. Routine is the base, and routine is the foundation of all success. Like, whether it's training success, whether it's financial success, whether it's social success, like in relationships and social settings and being able to converse with people, having a routine, it has that safety. And so it creates that safety net by you being able to depend on something happening on a consistent basis. And so if you can depend on going to the gym every day at 5:30 p.m. without any hassle, then in your mind you feel safe knowing that whatever happens during the day, you know that you're going to the gym at 5:30 p.m. regardless of what happens. Same with money. Like, anything can happen during the week, but you know that you get paid on Sunday morning. And so that gives you that sense of, hey, I'm safe because I'm getting a weekly paycheck, which is something that people do week in and week out. Like, when they work their jobs, they go, hey, I get paid every week, so I can live my life. And a lot of people do want that, and it does reduce that anxiety. And so as things get more expensive and things get harder for some people, then that's when that threshold for anxiety increases, because the money that they are getting isn't covering the costs of all the different things that they have going on. And so that level of anxiety increases. And then their level of work that they need to partake in to maintain their lifestyle also increases. And so by creating a routine, then you're better able to then develop a sense of safety, so that then the anxiety doesn't overtake the level of safety that you feel, and then you're constantly having panic attacks, or things aren't going the way that you want them to, and you're wondering why, and you're not taking any action, and you're distracted, and all these different things that will just induce anxiety in the body, where by being present, creating a plan, staying consistent with the plan, taking the actions that you need, so that then you're not constantly anticipating future events, you're calculating how things are going to pan out for your future, so that then the plan that you had initially can be followed through without too much worry. Because like you said, there's always going to be worry, regardless of having the perfect plan in the world. It's my number one rule for traveling. Shit's always going to happen.
Yeah.
You can have the most meticulous plan in the world, shit is always going to happen. And so to me, that's not worth being anxious over. That's just that's just a matter of fact, that shit's just always going to happen. And so that's one more way you could consider that you can reduce anxiety, where if you just know within yourself that shit is always just going to happen anyway,
100%.
there's really no point in anticipating it, because you just know that either way it's going to happen. It's just that we don't like being taken by surprise, and so we anticipate, then it never happens, and then the one time that we stop because we need to chill out, then it happens, and things just fall apart. Like
you go into the day that it's you're going to expect some shit to happen, and you deal with it then. Like if you expect everything smooth sailing all the time, and then the minute something comes up, you're either going to be like caught out of whack, like you said, or you're just going to have like massive anxieties and not deal with them in the best way. Like you said, expecting them to be there, that helps a lot.
Yeah, and so for someone, and this is stuff that I use as well, for someone that is struggling with anxiety, the best remedy, like the best immediate remedy, is to focus on the breath when you breathe in and when you breathe out. Because when you are focusing on your breath, the energy in your brain no longer is thinking about other things. It's focusing on the inhalation of oxygen and the exhalation of carbon dioxide. And then a lot of the time we also feel that we're overthinking is because we're not actually consciously properly breathing either. And so we're depriving ourselves of necessary breath and necessary energy. And so because your mind is starved of that oxygen, then it starts anticipating other events. It feels this need to survive because you're not providing the oxygen that your brain needs. So when someone says chill out, like you're going 100 miles a minute, it's very, very good advice, where you take that deep breath in, you take that deep breath out. Then after you're doing your breaths and you're in a more present state, you need to address exactly where you are. If you're upset about something, you're angry about something, you're afraid of something, whatever the emotion is, name it, and either write it down, share it with somebody. Like it needs to come out. You need to bring it out. You need to bring it forth, because if you just keep it in, it will poison you. And we don't want you poisoned. We want you as alive and as lively as possible, so that you're getting the best and you're maximizing the things that you want to be doing, rather than being scared of the things that you're not doing, or be scared of doing the thing that you want to do, but whatever the reason or the story is that's holding you back. So be absolutely honest with where you are in the more present state, and then come up with ways, so this is the third thing, come up with ways that what you're currently doing isn't serving you, so that then you can gently remind yourself that things need to change. so that then on the fourth thing, you can start noting down what you need to be doing that's going to align you with your goals, so that then you're not in a place of anxiety anymore. Because, like I said, when you are anxious, you're anticipating things that you can't control. And so by doing these things, you're doing what we were talking about in multiple podcasts before, controlling the controllables. And so by assessing the steps that you need to take, then take the steps. Because, like Brenden said, action alleviates anxiety. So when you're in a present state of mind, you're able to be honest with where you are. You can write down the things that you know that aren't serving you, that need to change, and replace them with the things that you can change, so that then the things that you're replacing them with now align with your goals. You go and take the steps that you need to take in order for you to not only overcome your own anxiety, but create momentum, so that when that momentum builds and you're getting all your tasks done, like in 75 Hard or the Live Hard program or any other program that someone provides you, provided that you're following the steps and doing the work, you'll be able to overcome the anxiety, achieve your goals, and embody excellence. That's as simple as I can explain it. And it's not that it's challenging, because it quite frankly isn't challenging at all. It's just how we perceive the work that needs to be done that's challenging, because so often we're just distracted, or we have such short attention spans or capacity for action that we get inspired for 1 minute, and then for the next 5 minutes we're downtrodden, or we feel derised, or we feel as though that nothing's working or nothing's going to get done. And so when you can tap that down to 1 minute of derision and, oh my god, this is hard, and then spend the next 5 minutes actioning what needs to be done, and you change the proportion of feeling good and feeling bad to the other way around, you'll get the work done, and you won't be anticipating things anymore. Like by following that plan that 5-step plan that I literally just said, is an example of calculating rather than anticipating, so that then whatever it is that you're building, you can build with a solid foundation, because you did the work necessary to get it done.
Yeah, I agree with all that. That's the way to do it. There's that many situations where anxiety does come up, so they can be beneficial across them scenarios.
Oh, absolutely. And it's one of those things, because I'll tell a story as well, where I went overseas recently, and so recently being last year, like it's been already a month since I've been back, which is bananas. Yeah. But I went overseas, and I spent a lot of money, and so as you do when you're overseas, that's no longer the narrative that I take, but it was a narrative for a long time, where I go, if you're on holidays, just spend, just splurge, indulge, do whatever. And so every time the money kept going, I was just get this pang of anxiety. Oh my god, like I'm gonna run out of money. I'm gonna run out of money. This is gonna be a problem. I'm not using any credit cards. I don't have any loans. This is all of my savings, everything. And so I didn't do any of the things that I just said while I was overseas. I was just overseas. Everything was great. I was completely ignorant. I'm in a completely new country. This is such a new experience. Oh my god, this is so surreal. Like, OMG, is the Colosseum movement real? Like, this place is incredible. And so being overseas and spending all of that money, that induced a lot of anxiety in me. And because I wasn't present, instead of focusing on what I could control, which was the amount of money that I spent, and saying no to spending on certain things, I just spent more instead, because that was one of my coping strategies of, oh my god, I don't feel like that I belong here, or that I should be here at all, but you know what, I am here, and I don't know when I'm going to be here again, so you know what, let's just spend this money. And then I lost it, and because now I lost it, or I spent it, I won't say lost, we'll just say it, because I spent the money, because I spent the money, then that affected the way that I felt. And so I have a certain proclivity when it comes to money, that if I don't have enough money, then I'm not enough. And so by not having that in that moment, I just felt completely ashamed, completely worthless. And this is not something that I share too often either, especially over the internet. But at the same time, I've decided, hey, you know what? I'm going to be transparent, and we're talking about transparency, so I'm being transparent right now. And so by continuously inducing myself with that anxiety every time that I spent that money, rather than addressing the feeling that I had inside, I just kept spending as much money as I earned. And so being able to be present and be honest with that, now I've set up like the steps that I'm taking in order for that to change, and then create the business, create the travel lifestyle that now I'm building and setting a path upon. Yes, it's hard right now because I'm not in a place where I have that happening, and it annoys me because I see all these social media pages as well. I get influenced by social media as well. I'm a human being too. And all these things happening all at once, and I'm going, well, I'm not there. And it's like, well, hang on a minute, like, you're right here. You need to be present, you need to be right here. Yeah. And so be right here, do the steps that you've done, and follow the plan that you set up for yourself, so that in 6, 9, 12 months time, you've got everything that you said that you were going to get. And by being present, by taking the actions, that's exactly what I'm going to do. And so, and I tell this story because there might be someone else out there who struggles with the same thing, where they're going, hey, every time I'm spending this money, I feel like that I'm losing money. I feel like I'm losing worth because I don't have enough money. And it's powerful because when you're able to share that, and you're able to get that off your chest, and you're able to actually then assess yourself and go, hey, you know what? I'm a human being, and I make mistakes, and I have faults, and I might seem like a reasonable person, but there are parts of me that are probably very unreasonable. I might seem like a logical person or a rational person, but there are probably parts of me that are very irrational and very illogical. And so
everyone, yeah.
Well, and that's everybody. And so, and I don't say this to be a victim, or I don't condone victimhood by saying, oh, I'm being vulnerable so that I can just get validation or make excuses for myself. I say it because we're just human beings, and that I have a lot of flaws, and it's important that when you own them, then you can go, well, hang on, since I own these, I get to decide what I get to do with them. Not, hey, I'm going to hide these from everybody and claim that I don't own them, that I disown them. Everyone may find out. And then if you don't own up to them, then people might use it against you. Where if you own them all together and you go, hey, this is me right now, and here's how I'm working on making changes, anxiety doesn't even become an issue anymore, like at all, because you know you're taking the actions, you know that you're doing the work, you know that you own up to your own shit, and you take complete ownership. And it wouldn't even be a struggle. People wouldn't be able to get through to you either, because you know in yourself that you're flawed, but you're also strong. You have things that are going on in your life, but you're also going, hey, I'm making these changes, where if you're not, then that's how you die. If you are, that's how you grow. That's with that story included, that's the best that I can explain this topic.
Yeah, I'll give you one example as well. Going on the ownership thing and all that sort of thing, and discipline for that matter. Say, for example, you've got anxiety of being late for work, right? Where extreme ownership comes into place, and
this is for you, right?
Yeah, for me, or anyone in general.
Yeah, let's just talk about you.
Yeah. So, say for example, I'm anxious to get to work one day, right? As you know, usually when you're in a rush, usually there's either all red lights or there's some fucking slow guy in front of you, right? which you can't control all that, right?
Yeah.
You can't control the slow person in front of you, you can't control the traffic lights. Well, not us anyway, right? Would be good if we can.
Yeah.
But we can't control that. But by having discipline, by developing discipline, you're going to develop that over time and basically leave either earlier, and then you won't have that problem of having that anxiety of being late.
Yeah.
Right, there's that, and then having the ownership, saying, look, this is my fault for not getting organised quicker, mucking around, and having that opportunity for anxiety to take place.
Yeah.
So by just having the discipline to just get everything done in a more timely manner, or getting up a little bit earlier, or not doing that extra thing that you thought you could get away with, but a lot of time you can't.
Yep.
You're better off leaving that few minutes earlier and then alleviating that anxiety.
Yeah.
And then that sets you up for the day as well.
Without question.
And that's how action, discipline, and ownership in the one scenario can help alleviate the anxiety.
Oh, that's everything summed up. Like, being able to be disciplined, you need a routine. By having a routine, you need to be present. By being present, you need to be aware that you're distracted. If you don't know that you're distracted, you'll always be anxious.
Yeah.
When you realize that you are distracted, then you can take the steps necessary towards the discipline and the action and the persistence necessary to achieve whatever outcome that you set to achieve. But it all comes with awareness. That's the bottom line. It comes with awareness. If you aren't aware, forget it.
Yeah.
Where by becoming aware, yes, it's painful at the start because you realize that you probably spent a whole bunch of years doing stuff that probably wasn't helpful for you.
Yeah.
And you go, well, you know what? Now I've got the rest of my life to go.
Yeah.
We're going to do something different.
Yeah, that's right. Look at it as if you've got say, for example, a 90 or 100 year lifespan. Say I'm 30, for example. If I've fucked up or on some aspect for 30 years, I've still got 70 years to alleviate and to live.
That's right.
So why just keep digging the ditch further and not admitting to your mistakes and trying to solve the problems at hand, and just instead of just
be honest.
Being honest with yourself.
Be honest with yourself.
And solving the problem where it's at.
That'll make anxiety disappear the fastest, by being honest with yourself and owning everything, so that then you're going, well, now I have nothing to hide, so I've got nothing to anticipate, so there aren't really that many problems at all. Yeah. So if you're struggling to overcome anxiety, be super honest with yourself, take a deep breath, assess your next steps, and go.
Yeah, I think that sums it up, Ali.
Thank you for tuning into today's episode. I really hope that you've learned a lot and took a lot out of this episode. We'd really appreciate your support by hitting subscribe on our YouTube channel and liking our videos on Instagram. Until next time, be excellent.
Yeah, share the show. Thank you.